Good morning, Metalheads here, and welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown, and today we're looking at the debut album from Idle Hands entitled Mana. As I said, this is the debut album from Idle Hands out of Portland, Oregon. They did release an EP last year entitled Don't Waste Your Time. However, I'm not super familiar with it. I had not really heard of it before. I've mostly heard of this band through word of mouth. I've seen a couple reviews from Angry Metal Guy, I saw the review on Banger TV, and I've had a couple very nice people comment in other videos asking me to take a look at this and recommending this. But for a couple of reasons, I initially chose not to review this thing. The first reason being that I kind of missed my cutoff point, you know, like I've said it many times on Metal Meltdown. I actually try and keep things pretty organized so I can talk about as much new music as possible within a certain amount of time, and then I move on. Like I can't linger on albums that were released a month ago when there's this much new music coming out right now. That's the simplest explanation, but probably the explanation that makes more sense to a lot of you is that initially I just didn't really have a lot to say about this album. I kind of felt like a lot of the reviews I'd read had covered all the bases, and I just didn't ultimately see a need, even if it was, you know, not past my cutoff date. And I was fine with that conclusion because I ended up reviewing some really cool albums, and then I got some promo copies for albums coming out this week that I'm also very excited to review. I was fine. I enjoyed the album in my off time, and that was that. And then something happened that doesn't normally happen, even when an insanely catchy and engaging record is thrown my way. I legitimately, fully, wholeheartedly, without any exaggeration, had a song stuck in my head. And I mean it. It's jammed in there. For the last 2 weeks, I have not stopped singing this song in my head. I have not stopped playing it and enjoying it and thinking about it. I've tried that classic trick of playing other insanely catchy songs so that they get stuck in your head instead of the old song, but I always find myself coming back to the old song. And in this case, that song is Give Me to the Night from this album, Mana by Idle Hands. And out of that, I started to theorize that maybe if I actually talked about this album in some capacity, maybe I can get this fucking song out of my head and I can move on with my life. Because it's normal to have like a song in your head, regardless of what genre of music you listen to. It's normal to find a song, whether it be in rock or pop or country or heavy metal, that just grabs you and reels you in, and it sticks with you no matter what. But it's not normal when almost 2 weeks after hearing that song, and after hearing some of the most extreme shit of the year so far, via the likes of Full of Hell, that song is still stuck in your head. It haunts your nightmares, much like that Full of Hell album. With that in mind, it's obvious that the first thing we need to address is why this thing is so fucking catchy. Not even just this song, the whole record. What is it doing that's so special? Well, there's a lot of factors. One is obviously the actual sound itself. This is a very interesting sound. It combines the best aspects of 80s pop sensibilities and late 80s metal and metallic guitars and hard rock emphasis and fire, with notable influence from The Cure and Sisters of Mercy, a lot of 80s goth rock, and as well as some more modern bands, I would say, like In Solitude and Tribulation as well. It's a formula that allows the music to be very moody and atmospheric and foreboding, but it's a formula that also allows the band to really flex their melodic songwriting. There's super catchy riffs, there's super catchy choruses, again, that general 80s pop kind of vibe that floats in the air. And it also helps a lot that vocalist Gabe Franco also performs all of these choruses with the utmost conviction and confidence. He channels the best melodic aspects of a lot of 80s goth rock, as I noted before, modern bands as well, from In Solitude and Tribulation. He sounds troubled, he sounds anguished, he sounds haunting, and the songwriting boosts him, riffs elevate him, lyrics make his case clear and make him sound all the more powerful, dominant, convincing. He just kills it, plain and simple. I mean, going back to the aforementioned Give Me to the Night with this incredibly simplistic, almost classic 80s kind of metal hook, elevated by guitars and his incredibly foreboding and menacing tone. Another great example, a song like Double Negative, which has this incredibly upbeat melodic core to it, despite the incredibly depressing, miserable lyrics based in suicide and depression. Gabe remarkably manages to keep the enthusiasm going in here, despite crackling, literally crackling, with anguish in the chorus. That's pretty remarkable, and it has a lot to do with the conviction and, again, those 80s pop sensibilities. You can find interesting tonal and melodic contrasts like that on some other songs as well, notably Jackie and Dragon Why Do You Cry, which probably is one of the more fantastical moments on the record, but I'll buy it, it's still fun. But the momentum is always there. In fact, the only time where this kind of upbeat, dare I say, party metal energy is interrupted is maybe on a song like It'll Be Over Before You Know It. But it takes such advantage of the rich atmosphere and musical palette that Idle Hands have constructed that you don't really mind. It is a captivating and spellbinding song. Every track on this album has a real standout moment, and frankly, there's not a single dud on the record, even in songs that do rely heavily on formulaic song structures, because everything Idle Hands does with them is so interesting and engaging, and it feels fresh. Like serious A-plus songwriting and performances on here, and that's without mentioning the fantastic sound mix that perfectly encapsulates this atmosphere, this rich, earthy, gothic vibe. So I'm going to give this thing a 4 out of 5. It's an incredibly fresh and unique album. It's got a lot of charisma and energy and melody and atmosphere. It's rich, it's vibrant. I can't really think of any band that's doing this sound quite this effectively right now. I have a few minor nitpicks in regard to the formulaic song structures that can sometimes be heard, and as well as in regards to some of the more, shall I say, flamboyant and over-the-top moments of the record. I don't have a problem with the more over-dramatic elements of goth rock being in play here, but I do think that these Tom G. Warrior-style grunts and oops heard across the record, these almost Al Pacino-style freak-out bits, they seem a bit cheesy. It's not bad, it just detracts from the overall experience, and if I was in the sound booth, this is something I would be encouraging Gabe to do less of, because I just don't think it always works on the way he wants it to. But that being said, the rest of this record certainly does work the way that Idle Hands wants it to. I mean, I'm being fully serious. This is a fantastic record. And the aforementioned Give Me to the Night, by the way, one of the best songs of the year so far. Even if you don't care as much for this album as I do, there's no doubt in my mind that that song is going to be stuck in your head for weeks on end, because that's exactly what's happened to me. I highly recommend this album to anyone. It's accessible enough for brand new metalheads. It's spicy enough for veterans. It's a good mix of old school heavy metal and 80s pop sensibilities and goth rock. It feels fresh. It feels cool. It feels different and dramatic and exciting, and I'm actually really happy I did finally sit down and actually talk about this record. And even if it was truly just to get this song out of my fucking head, I am happy that I did come back to this record and I did talk about it here. Definitely check this fucking thing out. You won't regret it, I promise you. 4 to 5, a great record. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert in order I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe to get updates on Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.